the much publicized breakup. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. We're great. We're going to be great. It's nothing but love.
After years of silence, Orlando Bloom, now 48, has finally broken his silence on his split with Katy Perry. Behind their picture-perfect romance was a storm of pressure, distance, and heartbreak. His emotional confession exposes hidden struggles no one saw coming. What impact would this have on their reputations? Join us as we uncover the details behind this powerful confession. A decade in the spotlight. When Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry first crossed paths in the year 2016, it felt like the beginning of a modern fairy tale. Both were already household names, loved across the globe for their talent and charisma. Their meeting was a spark that quickly grew into a relationship watched closely by fans and the media alike. Every step they took together seemed to make headlines. Yet behind the bright lights, they also tried to keep some parts of their world just for themselves. The early years of their romance were full of excitement, but not without challenges. By the year 2017, only a year after their story began, they surprised everyone by going their separate ways. It was a short break that left people wondering if their connection had ended for good. Yet, as time passed, it became clear that their bond was stronger than a temporary pause. Love found its way back to them, and the world watched as they gave their relationship another chance. Their reunion became one of the most celebrated moments in celebrity news, and just 2 years later, Orlando and Katy marked a new chapter. On Valentine's Day in the year 2019, Orlando proposed in a romantic gesture that perfectly matched their story. It was a moment that blended their private joy with public fascination, as images of the engagement filled magazines and entertainment shows. The couple's love story felt renewed, carrying a promise of a future together that fans could not stop talking about. That promise grew even brighter when, in August of the year 2020, the pair welcomed their daughter, Daisy Dove. The birth of Daisy marked a turning point for both of them. Orlando was already a father, but with Daisy, he stepped into the role once again with warmth and pride. For Katy, it was her first experience of motherhood, and she embraced it with joy. Together, they spoke often about how Daisy had brought them balance, grounding their busy lives with a sense of family and love. Despite being one of the most famous couples in the world, Orlando and Katy were careful about how much of their life together they shared. Red carpet events and award shows showed them at their glamorous best, smiling hand in hand and dazzling cameras. At the same time, they chose to keep certain milestones private, protecting the intimate moments that belonged only to them and their family. Even when tabloids buzzed with rumors or speculation, they worked hard to maintain control over their narrative. This balance between public attention and private life became a theme throughout their relationship. Fans adored seeing them together at high-profile events, but they also respected the way Orlando and Katy drew clear boundaries. The couple let the world see enough to feel connected to their journey, yet they never allowed the outside noise to take away the meaning of what they had built. In many ways, this mix of openness and protection is what gave their decade-long story such a unique texture. Despite their seemingly smooth relationship, what hidden challenges could have pushed Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry apart? The breakup. By the summer of 2025, whispers about Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry had grown louder. The pair, once seen as one of the brightest couples in the spotlight, had been facing questions about the state of their relationship for months. On July 3rd of that year, the uncertainty ended. Through a carefully written joint statement, they confirmed what many had feared. They were no longer together. The message was simple, yet deeply moving. It made clear that their decision was not born out of anger or bitterness, but from a recognition that their paths had shifted. What stood at the center of their statement was not the loss of romance, but the unshakable priority of their daughter, Daisy Dove. They chose to emphasize stability, love, and mutual respect, showing the world that while their relationship as partners had come to an end, their journey as parents would continue with unity. This approach softened the heartbreak for their fans. Instead of a story of conflict, it became a story of two people choosing grace. Many were surprised by the tone, especially in an industry where breakups often explode into public battles. For Orlando and Katy, however, the message was clear. Daisy's well-being was more important than any headline or rumor. Still, speculation never fully disappeared. Even before their announcement, signs of distance had surfaced. Orlando's appearance at Jeff Bezos's grand Italian wedding without Katy sparked questions. Photographs of him attending alone, mingling among high-profile guests, became the fuel for endless conversations. Was this simply a scheduling clash, or had the separation already quietly begun? For those watching closely, the absence spoke volumes. In the weeks that followed, insiders began sharing quiet suggestions that the split had been long in the making. Reports spoke of months of tension, moments where the couple seemed to drift apart, despite their efforts to hold things together. Fans began to piece together the puzzle, recalling times when Katy appeared on tour with a certain heaviness, or when Orlando promoted his projects with a focus that seemed unusually solitary. Yet even with the rumors swirling, their united statement cut through the noise. It offered a rare sense of dignity in the world of celebrity breakups. There were no accusations, no public disputes, no bitter exchanges. Instead, there was a steady focus on moving forward with kindness. Their words reflected maturity and care, traits that had always been part of how they handled their relationship under the relentless gaze of the public. For those who had followed their journey since 2016, the confirmation felt bittersweet. It marked the end of a chapter filled with milestones, reunions, proposals, and the joy of welcoming Daisy. At the same time, it showed that even when love changes form, it can still leave behind respect and shared purpose. By the time July 3rd arrived, the breakup was no longer just a rumor. It was real. Yet in how they revealed it, Orlando and Katy managed to turn a painful truth into a lesson in compassion. Their parting was not about endings alone, but about choosing a path where their daughter remained at the heart of everything. Even as their own love story reached its close, their split wasn't dramatic, but its impact was far greater than anyone could have imagined. The truth hidden between his words. When Orlando Bloom finally faced questions about his split from Katy Perry, the words he chose were short, almost whispered. Yet they carried the weight of a long and complicated story. He did not open the door wide, but instead gave only glimpses, simple phrases that left people leaning in, wanting to hear more. In just a few breaths, he managed to sound strong, grateful, and deeply human. It was not the flood of details the world expected, but it was enough to remind everyone that behind the fame, the cameras, and the glossy photographs, there was a man trying to hold on to grace while navigating heartbreak. His tone was controlled, as though each word had been carefully measured before it was spoken. It was clear he did not want to invite drama or headlines filled with speculation. Instead, he offered only what mattered most: a sense of peace, gratitude, and love for his daughter. That calmness left a lasting impression, perhaps even more powerful than a long explanation would have been. Sometimes, silence and restraint carry more emotion than pages of confessions, and Orlando seemed to understand this better than anyone. What made his openness even more striking was the way it connected to his latest project, The Cut. In the film, he took on the role of a broken ex-boxer, a man struggling with obsession, regret, and the heavy weight of personal defeat. To prepare, Orlando pushed himself both physically and emotionally. Under medical guidance, he shed nearly 30 pounds, living with hunger, fatigue, and sleepless nights that mirrored the internal battles of his character. This transformation was more than just preparation for a role. It became a reflection of his own journey. The timing felt almost symbolic. As his real life unraveled in ways no one outside his circle could fully see, he was also digging deep into the pain and discipline of his character. The performance demanded that he strip himself down, not just in body, but in spirit. It was as though the film became a mirror, showing him what it meant to lose and to rebuild, both on screen and off. Audiences watching his portrayal of a man on the edge might never realize how close the story was to the actor himself. Yet while Orlando carried himself with poise, the emotional undercurrents told a different tale. Behind the smiles and calm words, there was still pain. Katy, too, felt the weight of the breakup in ways that were visible even when she tried to mask them. While on tour, her performances remained dazzling, but there were moments when her emotions seemed too raw to fully hide. The breakup was not just a matter of public record, it was a private ache that followed them both wherever they went. Reports suggested that tension had been building for months, with signs of strain hidden beneath polished appearances. Fame had always put them under a microscope, and while they managed to keep much of their private world safe, the cracks eventually showed. The silence that followed their official announcement in July only deepened curiosity. For 2 months, neither of them spoke, and that quietness gave birth to endless speculation. Was the split final? Were there chances of reconciliation? The unanswered questions made Orlando's eventual words all the more impactful, because they arrived after a period when silence itself had become the loudest message. The connection between his personal life and the cut made the story even more haunting. In the film, he plays a man clawing his way back from ruin, weighed down by mistakes and haunted by obsession. In real life, he was walking his own road of rebuilding. The parallels were too striking to ignore. Every pound he lost, every hour he spent training, every sleepless night seemed to carry with it a deeper meaning. It was as though the role demanded him to process his own heartbreak in real time. This blending of art and life gave his story a poetic rhythm. On screen, he fought against despair with the discipline of an athlete. Off-screen, he carried himself with dignity, offering only kindness when asked about the most painful moment of his recent life. The lines blurred until the two journeys became one, fiction and reality feeding into each other, each making the other richer. For fans and followers, this stage of his life has become something more than gossip or entertainment news. It is a reminder that even those who seem larger than life face struggles that are deeply human. Orlando Bloom, once the heroic figure in epic blockbusters, has become the picture of quiet resilience. His journey through heartbreak, his commitment to fatherhood, and his willingness to let his art reflect his pain show a man who is not afraid to be vulnerable, but who chooses to express that vulnerability with control and compassion. As he moves forward, the silence he kept for so long and the careful words he finally shared leave behind an image of strength built not from bravado, but from balance. He is not shouting his pain from rooftops, nor hiding it in shadows. Instead, he is walking through it with dignity, letting his work and his gentle presence tell the story. Despite all the challenges, Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry found their way back to each other, not in love, but in something even stronger. United. After Goodbye, even as Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry faced the difficult decision to go their separate ways, one truth remained unshaken: their devotion to their daughter, Daisy Dove. No matter how heavy their personal heartbreak felt, both of them showed the world that love for a child can rise above any challenge. Their story became not just one of separation, but of finding harmony through co-parenting. Orlando's past with Miranda Kerr, his former wife, added another layer to this blended family. Miranda spoke openly about the warmth that still tied them all together. When Daisy celebrated her birthday on August 26th of 2025, the gathering became a symbol of unity. Orlando, Katy, and Miranda came together, not as rivals or distant figures from one another's lives, but as people who cared deeply about the same little girl. Miranda described them as one big, happy family, showing that bonds of love do not always follow traditional patterns. Her words carried wisdom about letting go of negativity. She believed that holding on to bitterness only harms the person who carries it. This gentle reminder painted a picture of maturity, of adults choosing peace for the sake of their children. It is rare to see such harmony between ex-partners and current partners, yet Orlando, Katy, and Miranda managed to craft a balance that worked beautifully. Their ability to stand side by side for Daisy's sake gave hope to many who watched their journey unfold. The unity extended beyond birthdays. Vacations, holiday gatherings, and small celebratory moments showed the same picture of respect. Photographs of Orlando and Katy with Daisy captured more than just family outings. They captured a commitment to keep joy at the heart of their daughter's life. There was no sign of bitterness in those moments, only smiles that reassured Daisy she was surrounded by love. These appearances also quieted speculation about tension, showing instead that even after parting, Orlando and Katy could share space with kindness. The way they handled their public image mattered too. Being global stars meant every step was under watchful eyes. Yet rather than allowing rumors or conflicts to dominate headlines, they chose to demonstrate calmness. They showed up together when it mattered most, sending the message that Daisy's happiness would never be overshadowed by personal struggles. Fans saw two parents who may no longer be partners in love, but who remained partners in raising their daughter. Co-parenting became their shared mission, and both devoted themselves to shielding Daisy from turmoil. They understood the fragile balance a child needs when parents separate. Instead of letting her feel the weight of their decisions, they built a circle of security around her. Whether through joint celebrations, gentle routines, or the quiet choices made behind closed doors, Daisy's well-being always came first. This steady focus became the foundation of their new relationship, not as lovers, but as a team. But what became of Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry's lives after the split? Were they truly better apart? Life after love. When Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry announced their separation, the world held its breath. For years, their story had been filled with moments of love, growth, and shared dreams. The silence that followed the announcement felt heavy, stretching over weeks that turned into months. Yet when Orlando finally spoke, his words showed not only acceptance, but also the beginning of a new chapter. That silence, once haunting, became a bridge from what they had lost to what they were each building next. For Orlando, the path forward opened through his work. He poured himself into The Cut, a project that demanded not just skill, but emotional depth. Playing the role of a man haunted by loss and fighting for redemption, he found a way to channel his own experiences into something powerful. The discipline of training, the physical changes, and the emotional exploration gave him focus at a time when his personal life could have easily become overwhelming. His art became his compass, guiding him out of heartbreak and into purpose. Katy, meanwhile, carried her strength onto the stage. Her Lifetime's tour became not only a professional milestone, but also a personal outlet. Music had always been her way of expressing the deepest parts of herself, and now it became the canvas on which she painted her healing. Audiences noticed the emotion in her voice, the subtle shifts in her performances that hinted at the private struggles behind the dazzling lights. Each concert became a reminder that she could still shine brightly, even while carrying the weight of change. Though they moved in separate directions, both Orlando and Katy showed that their daughter remained at the heart of everything. Co-parenting was not just a promise, but a practice. They appeared together when it mattered most, blending the stability Daisy needed with the independence each parent required. Their bond transformed from romantic love into something equally profound, a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared responsibility. New relationships also began to emerge as they found space to grow apart. For Orlando, time spent away from the pressures of a high-profile romance allowed him to rediscover himself. He focused on friendships, on fatherhood, and on roles that pushed him to think more deeply. Katy, too, found clarity in being able to stand on her own. Her artistry flourished, her individuality shone brighter, and she discovered a balance between motherhood and music that felt deeply personal. Were their new paths better than what they once shared? In many ways, yes. Together, they had built a love that brought joy and a daughter into their lives. Apart, they found growth that may not have been possible otherwise. Their silence after the breakup allowed them to heal privately, and their careful words afterward showed maturity that inspired admiration. What lies ahead remains uncertain, and perhaps that is what makes their journey so captivating. Will they speak more openly about the heartbreak, or will they let their actions, their art, and their devotion to Daisy tell the rest of the story? For now, the world can only wonder, is that both Orlando and Katy are walking forward with grace, proving that even after goodbye, life can blossom into something unexpectedly beautiful. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.